We're back. We had a complete technical, you know, snafu a moment ago. I don't know what that was. Uh, YouTube is odd. So, for those of you finding me again, um, we're going to be going over some of the energy upgrades for the year, some of the themes and that's how upgrades are. We're upgrading from an older consciousness into a new, more helpful, powerful consciousness. So, the new consciousness coming in this year um, follows in 6 different themes. And all of those energy upgrades are a part of releasing us from old consciousness. And some of these um, older karmic consciousness patterns have been hanging on, not just from 2023, but from one of them for thousands of years. Thousands of years, not last year, the year before, thousands of years of old conditioned pain being upgraded into a more helpful consciousness, but in these unusual, paradoxical manners. All right. And that's what we're talking about as we are channeling in the consciousness of Archangel Metatron today. I feel like I was dipping into I don't wanna, seem like a paranoid person here, but sometimes when I talk about themes that maybe someone doesn't wanna be talking about or doesn't want me to be talking about, sometimes those technical errors will happen as well. So if you wanna go over that part of this reading, you can look at part 1 of this channeling, which was up not even 10 minutes ago. Yeah. Hopefully you can hear me this time. The sound literally just cut out and went frazzly and odd. And then I did the thing because I don't know what to do. So as opposed to waiting on it to get better, you can't shift a live stream sound. So I just unplugged and replugged. I plug pulled, and that was probably a terrible thing to do during a live stream, and it just never came back. Okay, so if you want the greater portion of that first theme, which was the world in the reverse position from the Rider Waite Tarot, you can get that theme in part 1. All right. You can get that theme in part 1, but I'll just finish up the message that I have on that is we've been seeing the world as a pretty hopeless, futile place since 2020, since COVID. And now we have the opportunity to build our own world. So, and to be able to no longer rely upon any projections of anybody else's perception of what the world is, anyone else's projection of what the world is. And there will be opportunities for you. There will be opportunities for you individually and collectively this year um, to choose to see the world, to choose to continue to see the world as a futile, fraudulent place. Because a lot of your leaders will be brought down this year, all over the world, not just the states. The states needs it desperately, but you have so many interesting disclosures coming out from leaders all over the world. Korea, in particular, Russia, the UK, um, Canada, and the US. Oh, and 2 in France. Forgot about that. Don't wanna forget about that. So many things that I saw there and the visions that Metatron was bringing through that I don't really want to cover in full detail because it was just, quite frankly, disgusting. Some things I just really didn't want to see, particularly as a mom. So much coming up this year in relation to protection of children, so much protection of women, um, so much protection of teachers, um, protection of people who are just not that we all aren't, but just really people who come into leadership positions in education, in religion, in spirituality. Yes, ma'am. Ma'ams and sirs and thems and theys, everyone who's listening today. In spirituality, there's going to be a lot of disclosures this year in just finding out that some people aren't really shamans that said they were. Some people aren't really channels. Some people aren't really oracles and prophets. And a lot of like, and for the people who are, then you have to like look at that because you have gifts to share, and then you're struggling with imposter syndrome when all of this negativity has been placed into spirituality, right? Look at that bleeping. It's like they don't want me to talk. Did you see that glitchiness? It's not me. My internet's great. And then those people are kind of brought down from positions of power. I'm trying to talk about this with so much grace and integrity, and I know that it's disappointing when you have leaders in loving spiritual places, religious places, political places, um, school board members. I mean, from the individual level, babysitters, nannies, things like that. Um, People brought down from places where harm can be caused because they're not holding those positions with grace and with integrity. I have no weather. Sun's actually out. It's not here. We haven't had a blizzard in quite a few days. We're good now. Uh, so the next theme, getting out of that so YouTube doesn't glitch out again. We have the Seven of Pentacles reversed. We're going to be upgrading out of that theme this year. So don't worry. I know this is about, typically speaking, when this card here comes up in a theme, it's about improper business models and things like that. But this goes a little bit in alignment with the World Reverse card that we got. So the upgrade to the World Reverse card is we get the chance to see the world in the way that we want to see it without anyone else's perceptions or projections. To choose peace, to choose unity, to choose innocence. In this card, we get the chance to see how that applies to get out of lack mentality, to get out of the belief, I am invisible, I am small, those beliefs. I remember I was just talking about this earlier, and Metatron asked me to bring it up again, but I was teaching someone today, and we were talking about connecting to the essence of plants, and I was sharing a story with her about my first experience with Angelica, and I was out lying down in a very beautiful moment of wild foraging in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. And I looked up wherever I was, and I had been like looking for, I think I was looking for Violet at that point in time in my foraging as an herbalist, but I couldn't find her. And you know how this goes when you connect with plants and trees and nature, right? But I looked up and I'm just going to sit here and meditate because these plants aren't finding me. So I sat there and meditated, and I just kind of zoned out. I think I was tired. I had been searching for this wild violet for a long time. And I opened my eyes finally, and I realized I had been asleep in the field. And there was this wild angelica just directly above me, a couple of them together. And for a moment, like because I was acclimating, it felt like I was in another world. And it felt like I was in a world where herbs like angelica were like massively tall, like the redwood forest. And that it was just so bizarre to me, and I'm like, for a moment, I really had to, like, where am I? And in that moment, that's when the essence of the plant spoke to me for the first time. And she said, "I know you feel that way, that sometimes you don't belong in your world, that you're a small, small person, and that you don't really relate to the overwhelming nature, particularly in your senses in this world, and everything feels so odd," right? So entrepreneurs are feeling that way now and are coming out because, like I said, there are all these faulty business practices, particularly in healing communities and spiritual communities. I'm sorry, I'm going to give a call out because that's what Metatron wanted me to do. It's everywhere. And you're starting to watch powerful leaders fall, and you're watching humility rise. And some powerful leaders got major ego checks and had to humble themselves and start over from scratch and use their gifts for good, right? Not that anyone is wanting to use their gifts for bad, but COVID was a big wake up call for many healers and channels, right? So it's about fair business practices. So in this particular card, people are worried about their business practices and joining all these other fraudulent, false business practices, particularly in our own communities, in our spiritual communities, but also in religious communities, teaching communities, right? So you're at an interesting place to be able to choose, because if you don't, now Metatron told 2 people today this message, and now he's going to tell everyone listening because it was for everyone. If you don't choose to let your light shine despite all the fraudulent business practices, particularly in healing communities and spiritual communities, teaching communities, religious communities, medical communities, if you don't step forth as an integrous, ethical being and utilize your gifts, someone else who isn't integrous and ethical, who isn't as talented as you, who isn't shining the light so innocently and so full of grace as you, someone else is going to step forward fraudulently, and they're going to do it because they have marketing skills and they understand hashtags and algorithms now all on the internet, and then they're going to be getting millions of followers spreading false light, when you humble, ethical, gifted healers could be doing it instead. Now, do you want that to happen? That's a big theme for upgrading out of the fraudulent spiritual business construct that's coming up for 2024, right? And you can either be put off by that and say, oh, no, well, man, I'm not going to do anything now. And then someone else is going to do it for you, and they're going to do it poorly, and they're going to do it unethically, and they're going to spread lies and falsehoods. So if you're afraid to be seen, here's the next theme. It's a lot more positive. The upgrade is about getting out of the Kali Yuga, understanding the true golden age, and tapping into the passion of the wild red mother. So we have Kali, we have Lilith, but the softer sides of them, right? Really, really beautiful. It's a really, really beautiful time for the divine feminine to shine this year, right? So call upon all of those divine feminine guides, the goddess energy, because you're going to need it. This year is the year of the miracle. So many beautiful things are going to happen in the next upgrade where people, regular, humble, normal people from common means and backgrounds are going to be joining together and working with the essence of the miracle. People are going to be understanding miracles and the grace that it takes, and that miracles fall upon what you perceive as the deserving and the undeserving. That's a really big thing that was coming out today. You know, this happened back in, 9/11. So many people, this is the way that most people in my communities were coming, and they were saying, oh my gosh, those poor people, they didn't deserve that. The women, the children in the building, oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. And it was a metaphor for some powerful changes happening. It's sad, like people contracted their lives. It was sad. It doesn't make it right. And Lilith's response to them, I channeled her and she said, well, what would the world have you do? Lilith said, do you want me to gather up all the murderers and rapists and people who have done genocide, put them in the World Trade Center, take all the good people out and bomb the other ones instead? What do you want me to do? How would you have me handle it? Are they more deserving because they're playing certain roles for you? It was a tough message, and I didn't accept it at the time. I didn't understand it at the time. But in the essence of the miracle, we have to receive the upgrade to stop using the word fair and deserving and undeserving and worthy and unworthy. Those are thousands of years of religious constructs breaking down this year. And the power behind that is insurmountable. It is exceptional. You want in on that. You want in on the upgrade. This is a cosmic power. Look at this soul contract card. It says the impossible made possible. Not for you, not to you, not gifted to you, but because of you. All right? Um, so we're removing some painful karmic DNA constructs. So a lot of people are awakening this year and the headaches are crazy. I started out in this channeling with this massive migraine, and I'm like, well, do I cancel the channeling? And Metatron said, oh, I'm sure that's the people in the world who don't want these messages out would just love to see your channel just collapse and would just love to shut us up, right? So I said, yeah, that's not happening. Those of you who know me, we are getting out of a veiled consciousness. We have the veiled card in the reverse position, which is wonderful. Religious veils lifted this year, political veils lifted this year, so much disclosure. Science veils lifted because science thinks ETs don't exist, or if they do, then they're going to call them something new. They don't even call them UFOs now. They call them like UFPs or something dumb like, or UAPs, whatever it is they're calling it now. Whenever they don't explain something, they put some meaningless term on it, and that veils the beautiful consciousness that would otherwise come through if we just admit that those beings have been here for a very long time and their craft has been here for a very long time. And we're seeing more and more and more of that. So that veiled consciousness, particularly related to UFOs and UAPs and things of that nature, it's very, very strong. The veiled consciousness is releasing, and ancient ancestral DNA is being healed, right? We have a lot. Well, once those veils start coming down, we have a lot of ancient, painful karmic DNA from our ancestors that we will be healing this year. We have to do that in order to understand the new constructs coming. And the final theme for the upgrades of the year, we are in between the old and the new. Does that make sense? So for the past 10 years, it's been the year of the activators, people activating, and now it's the year of people who are holding a bridge of consciousness between the old and the new. Because people want new so bad, you want it so badly that you're willing to drop all of your beautiful sacred foundations. You're willing to kick people out of powerful places that, and if you don't have anybody holding the space in those powerful places, it's a little bit worse, you know, than even having the person that you don't want in those powerful places. So people are willing for something new. They're willing to remove the old. Wonderful in a certain sense, because particularly in the US, it's like some old dogs aren't learning new tricks, politically speaking. So I get that. However, we only have the beginning stages of this new consciousness coming this year. Maybe by the end of the year, we will have formulated the very first beginning foundations for New Earth, and people still don't even understand what that means. They try to associate it with a dimension, right? So instead of associating it with a dimension, which is another form of segregation, lower or higher, right? Separation, segregation, more of that consciousness. We need to understand that we are not going to be able to do that. We'll try to make it hierarchical. We'll try to make it something that divides us. We'll try to make it something that's like, oh, here we are, the special ones, better than everyone else, right? We can't do that because it's inclusive. It's all inclusive, right? I'm learning this one hardcore this year, by the way, and there's not much I'm willing to say about that publicly. But I'm learning it hardcore. People who say they're inclusive are inviting me and my family, who are very open. Oh, yeah, 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 you're wanted. Come along, come along. And then we come, my wife and I holding hands, sitting by each other. And these old religious constraints are still showing up, and they're showing up on people's faces. And I'm like, well, why did you invite us? She's my wife. I'm going to hold her hand. And I'm getting dirty looks for it still, right? Why did you invite me if you really aren't inclusive? Right. That's still a theme because we're building a new consciousness, but we have a lot of very old ancestral pain that is still there that people are clinging on to, and they're clinging on to that old ancestral pain while also wanting, you can't say you want new earth, you want new consciousness, you want love and light, and then simultaneously you want to say, oh no, I can't be around a them, they, or a gay person, or two married women, or two married men with kids. Why? You're speaking out both sides of your mouth here. People are still holding on to old ancestral painful conditions and still wanting inclusivity and harmony. But that veiled consciousness came up as between these two cards when Metatron pulled them for us. We are lifting the veil. Despite people hanging on to that, we are still lifting our veil. We are still moving into this new consciousness this year, right? Moving into the new consciousness, whether people like it or not, right? And believe me, in this example that I give you, like my wife and I aren't even like in your face about it. We typically don't hold hands in public because of the looks. Like we will typically put a little bit of distance. But if I'm having a bad day, she might come over and hug me. And then suddenly somebody walking by is looking funny, right? It's just like we get it wherever we go. But this is just, we are just one example of a new consciousness in play, that everywhere we move to, people aren't ready for that consciousness, and they're acting as if we're just all over each other. And I'm like, she held my pinky finger and I got a dirty look. So it's very interesting. It's very weird to like want something new, to want love, to want peace, to want harmony, and to also be still holding on to exclusivity, holding on to that, right? But the veil is lifting, and the new consciousness isn't just about, acceptance of lifestyle choices and things of that nature. The new consciousness is about accepting things that we don't understand, right? Accepting many things that we don't understand. So it's going to be a beautiful year, albeit a weird one. And many of you are lifting your own veils of consciousness, opening up to your creative abilities. There's so many things going on, right? Okay, time for readings. You ready? I have definitely been putting a lot more study into my Rider-Waite deck. So if you prefer that, do you want to see this new thing that Anya got for me? Isn't it so snazzy? Like all of my favorite decks are just like right there. Be willing to challenge yourself. If you had known me just a few years ago, I would say I'm never touching a card in my life. Be willing to say yes to things you never said you would do this year, because if you want a new consciousness, try new things. Yeah. Okay. um, I think I'm going to use a deck that I don't typically use. I'm going to use the Kuan Yin. We'll start there, Jeff, because I know that you connect with her. And I don't use this deck a lot, so I'm getting an opportunity to kind of learn it. There are two of these decks that I'm still learning. Okay. So we have the Empress and the Dynasty of the Divine Mother. The Empress stepping into your power. So many things there, similar to the Empress message in the Rider-Waite deck. The Veil of Shadows in the Dharmic position, meaning lifting your own veils for what it means to tap into your creativity this year. So I'm getting new creative project, possibly musical, and a venture in collaboration with someone. Thank you for the super chat, Jamie Jolly. What's your question? Or if it's a general, what deck do you want? live chat is so slow sometimes on YouTube. Okay, Ma 1. See what the message is. Sometimes love isn't easy, and you're placed in almost impossible scenarios in order to understand that you are possible and that you are the reason why love is possible, and that paths are difficult because they're worth it. Don't let anyone tell you anything else. Don't dim your own light. Don't set out your own fire. Follow this advice and you will have a very blissful time. Sometimes when yes is the answer during difficult times, that doesn't make it easier to move forward. But if you really want to be in your bliss, stay the course, particularly when it comes to that a relationship choice. Okay. Jamie, I think we're going to do Kuan Yin for you. Okay, a couple different things. The Tao comes up really strongly. Balancing out the way, understanding the middle way, understanding paradox. And then in the second card, revealing the peacock beauty. This is a deeper understanding of what makes you joyful, and what you perceive as worldly beauty can also be the artistic flow of celestial beauty and grace as well. So there's a reason why you're attracted to art and beauty. Follow that. Jin Q wants a financial outlook. So we will look at the karma and the dharma for your financial outlook this year. I would like to know what the sweater's made out of. Shoot, I don't know. I'll look at the back of it if you want, but I don't really know. It's not an animal. Okay. So for in the past positioning for financial outlook, you're pulling through some karma from last year and you're still afraid of it. Luckily speaking, you are spiritually strong. You're synergizing with your own nature. And things start out very well for the first few months, just by synergizing with your own nature and trusting your strength. You have a dark night of the soul smack in the middle of the year when it comes to money. And it's primarily because you have a couple of months, June, July, and half of August, that are particularly slow with money. And then you start connecting it with, is the universe supporting me? Which is one of the most devastating things you can do when you're starting a business, because a business is a business. And sometimes the universe says, I'm supporting you by giving you the gift. Now you create the business, you create the marketing, you create the business plan, you create the strategy, you do that footwork. And you healers are waiting on the universe to do it for you. So you disconnect and you go, well, then maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe this is just not really what's aligned to me and resonating for me, which is one of the worst things you could do, by the way. You have to heal that, spending the majority of July healing that, tapping into better communication with your spirit guides, resolving the problem, and then you end the year very financially productive. But it is very self-made. And yes, you are going to have to work for it, my healer friend. And stop waiting on signs from the universe. You've got plenty. How much more do you need? You got notebooks full. You've got dreams. You've got connection. You understand. But then when you'll do it for a little while, and then you'll be like, oh, well, it's not really, it worked for a little while. Well, it had nothing to do with the universe. You stopped for a little while, and then the universe reflected that back. If you throw a boomerang out to the universe, it comes back. And when it comes to business and money, it comes back in the form of money and customers, right? But if you stop working, there's no boomerang coming back. That's all that it is. It's not the universe saying, hey, you know what? Let's do something else. You're not aligned. No, you're not aligned to doing the work. So do the footwork and things will look better and you could possibly shift this outcome. Um, let's see here. Carmel McKenna would like a message of guidance for the year. Okay, let's look at the karma and the dharma of it for you really quickly. Guys, it really helps me if you're going to put in a super chat to also put in the question or the deck preference with the super chat, because otherwise you're going to get a general. Hard for me to keep up. Okay, a lot going on this year. Mostly dharmic cards, though. You're in deep communion with spirit right now. You're coming out of a deep time of solitude. And now you're lifting out of that veiled consciousness from last year, and not just last year, but about 11 years specifically, according to your ancestors. Doing some heart healing this year. Third eyes coming up. This is very, very rare. Clairvoyants are not a dime a dozen. They're actually rare. And you're someone who can see, and that's going to be shown to you this year. And you will only see things that pertain to larger collective world truths. Keep that in mind. That's your year. It's a lot of growth and a lot of wonderful things. Okay, so visual thinker. If you're there, you did not put in a message. So we're going to go in with ancestors because I didn't see a question. Healing from loss and fear of loss specifically. It's like both. You lost someone and then you still hold a big fear of losing people. That was a hard initiation. That was a tough one. You made the right decision. Please trust yourself, forgive, heal, let go. Okay. Let's see who was next. Jenny, deck of your choice. I think we'll do a one card with Rider Waite with you. See what comes up that's important right now. That's a minor arcana, and I don't know what it means. Hold on. I can feel it a little bit, though. It's a man lying up like he's lying, and there are 4 swords. It's the 4 of swords reversed, and it just does not feel good. So it's like that feeling of, and I'm also going to read you from my favorite tarot interpretation book here. And I'm going to read you what it says as well. But the intuitive feeling I'm getting behind this one is sort of like, what is that? 3, the 4 of swords. The feeling of like cutting yourself out of an otherwise powerful opportunity to grow. I don't know what that's about. I don't understand this one. I don't have all the cards learned yet. So this one says stubbornness. Refusal to take a break could lead to burnout. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's like you're willing to put the baby out with the bathwater is what your guides are saying here with this one. You're willing to just cut your losses and say, I'm so tired. And it feels very career oriented. Like, I'm so tired, but there's so many people who need you. You cannot be tired. Go rejuvenate and refresh and be restored because you are needed right where you are. That is the message. Any messages for Natalia? Let's do the ancestral deck for you. You made the right decision. It was a great loss, but you either moved communities, moved homes, or did something with a major transition with what felt or who felt like home. And it felt like loss to do it, but it was the right decision. Please do not dim your light. Go back into the temple and do your ritual and your alchemy work. Gen A, let's do a general with, you know what? Let's do Rider Waite. Okay, the Lover's card comes up. I do definitely feel like the energy of this card is like self-love, as well as like forming a peace about loving relationships in your life and understanding that love looked very different for you. And regardless of what anyone else thought about that, that it's time to do you. Okay, Katie King says, I feel super stuck and low, feeling no energy or motivation to get moving. How do I get unstuck? Let's look at the karma and the dharma of that. Yep, definitely the submerged consciousness card came up. So, this idea of staying stuck in old consciousness because it's safer is something that dims your light and puts out your fire. We have the fire in the reverse position. So, you have a wake up call coming to you, and the wake up call will be scary eventually. It's like the guides are saying you don't want to take responsibility for actually moving your own energy and you know what to do. It's like, but you're saying, but I need a deep, detailed, pragmatic, logical blueprint that's going to be super easy and all the resources are just going to be there. That's not the way growth works. Okay. So take the wake up call, shifting paths in every area of your life so much this year. And I know it's overwhelming, but when you want to change, sometimes we have to let go of what's holding us in a painful place, particularly with people and work. So many things where you live, so many things are shifting. If you want joy, you have to be willing to shift. We have this tsunami card. It's like the universe saying, yeah, we know you're scared. So we're sending this big wave to just put you in wipeout mode so that you move your ass. Your ancestors are tough. But ultimately speaking, even though you're scared, this is abundance for you. This is what abundance is going to look like. Because it's like you're living the life of a pauper and asking the universe to make you rich. They're giving you a metaphor. But if that applies literally for you, you can take that message as well. It's a powerful message. I really like that one. You can't live the life of a pauper, live in lack mentality, not be willing to take responsibility for what you need to do, stay the same, all the same people around you, all the same, but still want the universe to make you abundant. It doesn't make sense. We have to live the life of a prosperous individual, an abundant individual, and shift. Because if you don't, like, having that tsunami energy, that rug pulled out from underneath you is not a fun way to become prosperous. You will prosper, but it's by removing everything that isn't working right now. Okay, Daisy Lee King, let's look at the karma and the dharma of that. She wants to know what's coming for me this year. We have some ups and downs here. So start out the year with a lot of release, particularly with food, nutrition, health. For you and someone you love around you, it's like changing, big change. And we can't claim innocence in regards to what we know we need to do if we're not really being an adult. No, this isn't for you. This is for someone around you, and you will know who this is, but in your family. They're like innocently just going along and saying, "Why do I keep getting sick? Why do I keep having health problems? Why?" Claiming innocence and then still needing to release certain lifestyles and certain energy lifestyles as well, not just food lifestyles or whatever, right? So follow your instincts. This will be a year where you begin to trust your instincts better. It's like I see a break from spiritual work for a little while because of family things going on. That's all that one means. And then a resuming, becoming more deeply inspired, renovating what is and isn't working about how you have your creative offerings this year. So shift in business plan in a great way. You will love it. But some struggles with your people around you, with your family this year. Dim Fatale, we're going to use the Ancestral deck to give a general message. Okay, not feeling at home. Now, I take this very literally. It could mean where you live or too much travel. Something needs to change. Try to stay home more or build a home environment. It's like you've spent many years with this problem, but you're overcoming the fear and association with this problem right now. And your gifts are opening up stronger than ever before. So that's a good sign. All those things are great. Any messages from the universe for this year for Ambika? I'm hearing the word cosmic warrior. Does that mean something to you? It's like a phrase. It's just coming up. So Ambika, the shaman path is calling you again. I don't get this card that often, guys. But sometimes it means going it alone. We have kind of a silver gray wolf showing up. You're going to be working with people with deeply submerged consciousness who do not feel protected, who do not see the bigger picture, and you have the vision to guide them through. But you don't like it. You're asking for people to be connected to you who are aware and awake. But those who are aware and awake don't need a shaman. That's the paradox. Lilith says, get through. It's okay. This next question says, Metatron's been influencing my path and his guidance with steps in finances. I feel pulled in many directions. Okay, let's see what he has to say. You know, sometimes we have many things that we want to do. So when you're pulled in many directions, you need to shift through without trying to make yourself acclimate to just one. Okay? So when you have the capacity to work through the life records, otherwise known as the Akash, as represented here, you need to start with your own. You are an original shapeshifter who holds back energies. You're afraid of fully being seen. So you remain kind of clouded and you keep telling yourself, I feel confused. You're not confused. You're bored. There is a difference, he says. You have a deep power that's accessible in your capacity to heal, to help, and to serve. But you also don't nurture yourself. And you keep telling yourself, how could I also help nurture others? How can I clear energies for others if I'm not doing it for myself? How? Get rest. Your problem is physical, not metaphysical. Some people think that the two are always connected, but not always. We aren't all jars with labels on them, are we? Okay, next question. What should I personally focus on this year? For Sarah, we're going to use the Rider-Waite. We had a flyaway card. There it is. 3 of Wands. I am learning the Minor Arcana. It's very interesting, though. This guy, it came up in the dark position. It's like the guy's got his back faced out, like he's looking over and surveying his perimeter and deciding like what he wants to change and what he doesn't. Did you get that energy of the card? So are you doing that right now? I'm going to be also reading what it has to say for you as well, because the Minor Arcana and I aren't friends yet. I don't know much about Minor Arcana yet. It says you see the card and the figure in the card standing across the landscape, contemplating where he's going next. And what he is waiting for his ships to come in after all the planning and collaborating. See, I agree with that. It's like you're a visionary. And you've done a lot of careful foresight and planning, right? But my question to you is, what are you waiting for? Are you going to stand on the shores looking out, waiting on your ship to come in? Or are you going to get in the water? Sometimes you may feel like you're getting in the water without a ship. I don't care. Build one. It's time to move. That's what I'm hearing. Ellie, Fluttering Phoenix, you need to give me more words. What does that mean? Are you still there with us? Because I don't know how to answer that. But Metatron says there are certain things that we can't always prevent. There's just as much toxicity sometimes in divine femininity as there is in patriarchy. Have you noticed it? Let's see. She says, I noticed that when I'm feeling happy, positive, or empowered, I guess something in the reality comes up and scares me. Because you're about to change. We have a new consciousness, and the brain is programmed to say, that doesn't make me feel safe. Right? So when we're facing a new consciousness that we are deeply unfamiliar, the brain just wants to say, yeah, don't do that. That's dangerous. Right? That's dangerous. Last year, you were healing old wounds. We have the childhood conditions and beliefs coming up. This year, you're told to be very still, to perfect the art of listening to your guidance. And now it's time to release anger. Not that it's bad. You actually get to use this to push your passions in a positive direction. Metatron doesn't believe in suppression, right? So when you're angry, push that energy into something deeply creative right now, right? And when you're scared, push that energy into something deeply creative instead. And you're not as scared as you think you are. You're angry. There's a difference. Okay. Deb Hymanball, guidance for the year regarding my path in life with my significant other, karma and dharma. Okay, we will do that. This is definitely a karmic relationship. You have the karma card showing up in the reverse position, volatility within the two of you. You got a wake-up call about this person. And you got a wake-up call for your responsibility for why they are the way they are as well. And that's what has been going on. You're not really feeling strong, but you feel like this relationship, it's like you're not feeling strong enough to end it, but this relationship has fallen from its initial period of love. So that's something to look at. It's not a great year. There's been a lot of wake-up calls, and it's time to make some powerful decisions or fix it. And you know what he's talking about. Okay. Luke says advice on business and finance, events, online course. How can I make a big festival possible in 2 to 3 years? You don't have a deck preference. So let's just look at the karma and the dharma of it then. Don't fall out of your ceremonial, ritual, sacred life. Be mindful of that. Stay in your stillness. Get out of the veiled consciousness presented in spiritual communities in terms of how to make a big festival happen. Get out of the veiled consciousness, because that pulls you out of your divine light. Don't worry about when this is going to happen. Get rest. Make this a joyful endeavor. Start planning and get out of the lack of ritual, the veiled consciousness that was formerly surrounding this plan, and you will see it shift much faster than 2 to 3 years. Tina, any messages for me? Sure, we'll use the dragon deck. Dawn, I cannot do mediumship very well in a chat-oriented endeavor. I prefer to give it the respect that it deserves. I can do mediumship well when I sit before people, but only if I've given at least 24 hours advance notice for me to just really sit with that energy typically. I'm funny. I don't really believe in paying for mediumship for me, because that being just comes if it wants to come, and it doesn't want to come if it doesn't want to come. It's not like angels and things who are there all the time. So I would prefer to give this the respect that it needs. And maybe you can ask me a different question than that. And I am also sorry for your loss. Okay. Tina, the message is, it's time for you to ask for a divine revelation about what you're seeing in your health and what the world is mirroring back to you about your health as well. It's time for you to ask Cosmic Source for a divine revelation in regards to how to shift your destiny, because your destiny is going to shift in a powerful way with health regarding you and people around you this year. And that will be a positive outcome if you follow that. Yasha, what old consciousness am I still holding on to? She wants the ancestral deck. That's Yadira. Okay. Okay. You healed a lot of fear these past few years since 2020. You have healed a lot of fears, but they just wanted to start that out, that there are multiple fears that you release. But here is what we need to work on: lack of self-worth and lack of courage when it comes to being visible in your worth. Okay. Anita says, I'm going through changes. What message does Metatron have for me regarding the changes coming and how money abundance will work? You know what? Let's use the soul contract deck for that, because he says so. Haven't picked up that one for a while. This is a creativity card, working with Divine Mother to open up and be blessed in your creative endeavors. Release the poor artist mentality. We have the dissolving light card saying release that mentality, that if you go into any sort of art that you'll be poor. It's not true. Okay, Tabitha wants to know, like, what I really need to hear. I'm open. Okay. Let's use the Rider-Waite deck one for you. Okay, we have the Moon card in the reverse position, and Metatron says, it's really important. This is a very specific one, not typical to what this card would mean reversed. He says, this isn't so much about suppressing your feminine. It's about giving too much energy to your feminine and relying upon astrological and moon cycles. So he wants you to understand your masculine a little bit more this year and to trust it, to get some things done. Okay, so Gina Marissa says, any themes, messages for my 2024 year? Yep, we'll use the soul contract deck for that. Okay, remember earlier when Metatron said you can't go into wealth when you have a pauper's mentality? We can't want abundance and have like a lack mentality. This year, it's like you have several powerful things that you think are just windfalls, but they're not. It's because you got out of that lack mentality, and Divine Mother through you, with you, manifested your life. So that's good, but we still aren't arising yet from our deeper connection with form and trusting the body. So those are the themes to work on this year. Next one, Prisma Crystallis says, these days I feel I need to look at my capacity to love myself and others without conditions and release of ideas of being worthy and unworthy. Any messages surrounding this? Yeah, let's do the ancestral deck actually. He says, trust your own decisions or life doesn't change and the new consciousness does not open to you. Trust your decisions even when you feel unworthy. Trust your decisions even when you don't feel grateful. Trust your decisions even when you want more. And people are around you saying, be grateful, worse things could happen, and all of this. Well, it's time for a change. So when people are around you saying, be grateful, that's not exactly what gratitude is. That's just applying painful things so that you feel centered enough to move into other things like the unknown. And there's a difference between gratitude and what's the word you're using? Supplication, right? So big things. Be prepared to feel not so at home with this new way. Be prepared to feel like you don't belong anymore to people around you and that you don't understand them, that you can still love them without agreeing with them. You can still love them without understanding them and without condoning their particular lifestyles and ways. You can still love them and be loving, right? Look at that 111 at the time I said that one for you. Chantel, any messages? Let's see. Let me read this one. In regards to my relationship with Ty, I don't know what that means, so I'm going to go to the next one. This is so much in this. With my relationships with the angelic realm and my strong connection to Gaia. It's like you're pushing too much. You see the I don't even know what this card means, but this just energy of like carrying so much for other people. You have to shift that a little bit. I'm going to also look into this as well with the tarot book to see what this Wands card actually means as well, like outside of my intuition. But it's the 10 of Wands. Let's see here. Yeah, it says the 10 of Wands is carrying a heavy load, hunched over and struggling, and the burden's almost too much for him. The thing is, he's not giving up. He is determined. He's going where he needs to go, and that determination is astounding, but he does need to carry that load all by himself. Yeah. So it's time to delegate. We can't do all this work and feel like we need to do it alone, right? It just wouldn't make sense. You're not alone. Amanda says, do you have any insight into how I can get through my work days without being depleted by having to interact and be around so many people? He said, so interact differently. Spend your days making your workplace a sacred temple for you. Bless, invoke, meditate, pray, wear white. There's so many things you can do, but this is going to require some psychic energy hygiene. I just did a video about that maybe 4 days ago or so. So it's like, it's not time to change jobs. There's something else going on in your life that makes that difficult. But you need to ask for a revelation right now because you're out of love with the people in the job environment, the working environment, and the aura of the company. It's just lost on you. You're done. And sometimes when that happens, as opposed to leaving, just say, hey, can I get a divine revelation of truth here? Can I get an uplifting energy that could encourage me to make a decision here and to trust that decision? Right? He's giving me that song, "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" in my head. "Should I stay or should I go? No, 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 no. If I stay, it will be trouble. If I go, it will be double." It's like something. There's so many other things going on in your life right now that you don't want to leave, but you don't want to stay. And when you haven't made that commitment, no matter what it is, energetically speaking, that's going to reflect back to you, and people aren't going to trust you. And that is depleting. The people around you don't trust you. And he says you're not showing them that you want to be trusted. You're showing them disconnect. So, all right. All right, we've been at it for an hour, so I think I'm gonna call it. And I will see you guys probably later this weekend, Sunday or Monday. You can count on me to be back probably in the evening time. And don't forget to get your limited time offer 2024 soul contract readings because we're going to close them. We're about to sell out. And we'll close them when they sell out or by Monday, one or the other. So get that before you can, before it's gone. Only do that typically during January. You can book whenever you want them, but you can only purchase them in January. So I'm about to close them. Thanks for letting me read and connect with all your guides and ancestors and with Metatron today. We had so many beautiful, powerful beings here today, including Lilith and so many beings. So I appreciate that. Thanks for being a part of my channeling experience. And thanks for being the most important part of my channeling experience. I'm grateful for you. Happy New Year. And I'll see you in a few days. Bye-bye.